have to know the nature of true religion. What is nature of true religion? True religion means that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala using Shariati language, so He has appointed a wajiran, an intermediary between Himself and between His creatures. Now, what is the purpose of this wajiran? The purpose of this wajiran is human beings, ordinary human beings, have no direct connection with Almighty as such. So therefore, whatever blessings, grace, or power comes from Allah, it comes through intermediary. And whatever we are submitting to Allah, again we have to submit through this intermediary. This is religion, real religion. Now, if we take the concept of real religion, then the real religion is the one in which this divine guidance has continuity from the inception of the universe, from the inception of existence till today. That is real religion, pure religion. But human being is combination of so many elements, and we can't keep balance. And therefore, because of their different inclination, in the course of history, many people left this life. And other type of religions have come into existence because of leaving this life. And therefore, in history, there are so many names. Now what happens? Those who are living the true light, their ideal is always in the past. They are following a book, and whatever is written in that book, they consider this is the ultimate truth and we have to follow that. So in order to identify themselves with reality, they are going towards the past. They are not coming forward. And therefore their ideal is the rest of the religion, other than the true religion of God, their ideal is in the past. So therefore, time and again, particularly those who are rigid in their religion, they are referring to the past. That such and such prophet had done such and such practice, and we have to stick to that practice, and we are not allowed to change anything. But as far as the real and the true religion is concerned, there has always been elasticity. Hazrat Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah Fadahu Arwahuna says that Ismailism has survived because there has been always elasticity and there is no rigidity as such. So therefore we should be grateful to Mawla who has guided us to his life, and therefore in our faith the religion is always changing according to guidance of that life. And if there is any existence, the very nature of existence is a change. If there is no change, there is no existence. If there is existence, there has to be change. So this is the essence of religion, but those who are in majority, they are not following this path. their voice is louder and they are trying to suppress this truth. But we shouldn't be afraid of that. If we know something is true and real, and we should try to defend our position and follow that Sirati Mustaqim.
So, if I can just add again, if I can just add to that, because one point which should have come in there is that since those people who no longer have a living light or a living divine guide, they look into the past. For them, the golden age. So if you take, for Christians, you know that their golden age is the time of Jesus. If you take the Jewish group, their golden age is the time of the prophets of Israel, right? Those are close to us. If you take really fundamentalist Hindus, they say, we wish we were in the time of Ram or Krishna, right? But for Ismailis, because we know that the nur of the Imam is the very same nur which was in all these prophets going all the way back, for us the present is very important. And then our Imam's guidance is always to look into the future. Right? We don't look to the past for guidance. The guidance is right here amongst us, and we are heading into a future. For us, every time in which we live is the golden age. Right? It's a very big conceptual difference, right? It's a worldview, isn't it? It's a very different type of thought.
Since you added a footnote, let me add another one. So
this is all extempore, by the way, right? He's just started speaking, but then you have to stop us and ask questions, yeah?
Okay. The religion is defined in the Holy Quran in chapter 30 and verse is also 30. आपके पास कुरान है, देख लीजिए. 30 is very easy to remember. देख लीजिए दीन की क्या कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है. सूरह रूम
पढ़े
इंग्लिश भी पढ़िए, उर्दू भी पढ़िए.
जी. यकसू होकर अपना रुख इस दीन की समत में जमा दो, कायम हो जाओ उस फितरत पर जिस पर अल्लाह ताला ने इंसानों को पैदा किया है, अल्लाह की बनाई हुई साख.
बस फिलहाल यहाँ तक काफी है.
इंग्लिश में पढ़ेंगे.
So direct your face towards the religion, inclining to truth, the fitrah of Allah, upon which He has created people.
Okay. So first, Allah is mentioning that we should turn our face toward His religion. Now, religion is an abstract term. Until and unless there is a concrete example, you can't understand what is the religion of Allah. Now, to make it little bit simpler, Allah says, my religion is my nature. And again, still nature is also an abstract term. Allah is explaining further, and He says, I have created man according to my nature. अच्छा, मुझे भी एक दे दो. ऑलरेडी आ गया है, दुल्हन बना दो. अभी अच्छा होगा. So, in order to understand Allah's religion, we have to understand nature. And in order to understand nature, we have to study human beings. सिंपल है ये, हमारे इस्माइलियों ने नहीं बनाया, किसी इस्माइली ने खुदा के खुद कलाम में. दिस इज वेरी सिंपल गाइडेंस. बस नहीं खुदा इज इनफ. So in that case, we have to study nature. What is the nature of human being? The nature में क्या होता है? When we are born from the womb of mother, what is our diet? ख्याल.
Mother's milk.
तो कोई if an ignorant mother considering that my child should grow quickly, if she is
grinding
mixing,
some
grinding
nuts
some,
and things and adding to that milk, what would happen? The child's digestive system, we have a doctor amongst us, right? But it's, any normal woman would know that the child's digestive system is not capable of that.
बस भी नहीं कुर्बान, open the ears.
कौन सा तकलीफ करो?
अपने दोस्त
अच्छा भी लगे.
बराबर कुर्बान. तो जो सुनने के वक्त सुनना चाहिए, पढ़ने के वक्त पढ़ना चाहिए. अभी तस्वीर का ये टाइम है, but not all the time. Listening itself is तस्वीर. कहाँ तक पहुँचे थे हम?
इनकी बात है. So, God, His religion and nature.
जानी मदद मरहबा बाद में मुलाकातें होंगी. मरहबा. अच्छा, तो इसके लिए अभी चूंकि since the child has sucked milk in the very beginning, should he continue sucking milk of mother or he has to change his diet? अब उस माँ का मिल्क सक करता जाएगा, जवान किस तरह होगा, गरीब बेचारा. But if somebody says, argues, the way nowadays people are arguing, since he has sucked the milk of mother in the beginning, he should continue to. That is so-called fundamentalism. Fundamentalism in real sense has to be continued. Like the child is growing, from the childhood it becomes young and this and it reaches and becomes old. That Maulana Sultan Shah says, a child from his childhood up to his old age, if we take pictures, every picture will be different.
Every 10 years.
Yeah.
Then you see that same child, how different he or she looks. Every 10 years, correct?
But the person is the same person.
Yeah.
So therefore, religion has an essence, and that essence is the divine guide. The Imam of the time, he has to be always the same. But as far as the rest of the rites and rituals and practices are concerned, has to change according to his guidance, not according to desire of the people, because desire of the people is not complete, but according to divine intellect, or the Aqli Kul, what Maulana Hazir Imam says in the inauguration of Aga Khan Yunus.
But let's just maybe we might need to emphasize a few points. So what Faquir Sahib is saying here is that in the Ismaili tariqah of Islam, there is one principle that remains forever, and that is the light of God. Everything else can change, but the Imam doesn't change, the Nur doesn't change. Okay? This is what he's trying to say in his a little bit of a roundabout way. And I think that's where we as Ismailis need to understand that, right? When people in the Jamaat say, if we are Muslims, how come we do not do this, that and the other? Mm-hmm. It's a very strange question, because they need to understand that whoever does this, that and the other, they don't have an Imam. We have an Imam, correct? Yeah. Again, I'm not, saying words like, for instance, if a member of the Jamaat says, it's the month of Ramadan, why aren't we fasting? Fasting is just a pillar of Islam, okay? And it has more than one meaning, right? But what is the fundamental of Islam? The fundamental of Islam is obey Allah and the Prophet and the Ulil Amri Minkum. So how come we do not ask, why don't they have an Ulil Amr? That's what we should be asking. Yeah? But this is where our Jamaat needs the knowledge, right? They need this type of knowledge, that the Imam is the perpetual principle. And what he says is more important now for us than what the Prophet said 1400 years ago. Because the Prophet said things 1400 years ago, and they are in the Quran, there's no doubt about it. They were for that time, and he had said himself, the Prophet himself had said that in my time, whoever gives up 10% of what I am teaching now will be ruined. But a time will come when those who actually follow only 10%, they will be the ones who will receive salvation. This is you will find this hadith in the Sunni collections, right? And if you want a reference, it is page 183 of Sayyid Amir Ali's book, The Spirit of Islam. Yeah? So what we as Ismailis have very clear is that you may fast the month of Ramadan for the whole year from food and water, but it will not give you much benefit. It will not give you much benefit. Okay?
ओके अभी हम क्या करेंगे हमने वो दावत हक पर
है ना अभी पहले हम कुछ सवालात देखें सवालात है तो पहले हम सवालात को
सवालात कलीस भाई पहले से यहाँ है फिर भी कुछ है तो भले हो जाए यारी बदा मरहबा मरहबा
I think maybe we should give the new students a chance, right? To ask what do you think?
Okay.
No questions? No questions at all? Okay. Anybody else who has questions? Is all kind of someone there?
Somebody else. तो वो दावत हक मैंने यहाँ लाया है आपने पहले यहाँ कुछ पढ़ा भी है उसको
जी सर हमने इसको एक क्लास के अंदर पढ़ाया था
याद तशरीफ लाइए कुर्बान अच्छा तो कौन पढ़ेगा इसको
कोई पढ़ेगी ना पढ़ा
चिप्पी चिप्पी करके अच्छी तरह से पढ़ना है मीनिंग ऑफ चिप्पी
Do you all understand Urdu?
Yeah, Urdu is okay for us.
नहीं वो अपनी कराची से
Khayal does not. Khayal
चलिए
born in New York for kids. You can't expect him to understand.
आपका ख्याल का आप ही ख्याल रखोगी
We read this article last time, so it's okay. I'll catch it on.
No, we'll integrate it in English.
वाला थोड़ी सी लैलतुल कदर करनी हो तो लैलतुल कदर की जाएगा बट इंशाल्लाह दिस है सम इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट्स कि दावत हक की कंटिन्यूटी वगैरह वगैरह
Yes.
ओके और आपके साथ और भी कोई उर्दू पढ़ने वाला है आप उनको भी चांस दे दीजिए
Does Neha understand Urdu as well?
मरहबा फरमान बिस्मिल्लाह
दावत हक की अहमियत
अच्छा बहुत अच्छी आवाज है मरहबा
दावत हक की अहमियत का अंदाजा इसी से लगाया जा सकता है कि रब्बुल इज्जत ने सबसे पहले इसको अपनी ज़ात अक़दस से मंसूब किया है
अच्छा पहले यहाँ रुकना है अच्छा तो
पूरा
ओके ओके ओके
कुरानी हवाला सूरा 8 आयत 24 और फिर अपनी जगह पर उस काम को सर अंजाम देने के लिए अपने बंदगान खास का इंतखाब किया और उन्होंने अपने अपने दौर में अपनी जगह पर हुदूद दीन को कायम किया ताकि खुदा की नूरानी हिदायत तमाम बाशऊर लोगों को पहुंचाई जा सके।
शीन के ऊपर पेश
बाशऊर लोगों को पहुंचाई जा सके। दावत हक का लुब-ए-लुबाब ये है कि उसके जरिए खुदा की मारिफत हासिल हो जो दुनिया में आने का मकसद आला है और जिसका जरिया इस दुनिया में उसका खलीफा है जो सिलसिलाए अंबिया और अईमा अलैहिमुस्सलाम में इस मकसद के लिए दुनिया में उलिल अमर, हादी बरहक, इमाम ज़मान जैसे नामों से हाजिर और मौजूद है।
Yes, so आपने यहाँ did you catch that the article starts by using the phrase Dawat-e-Haq. That is the original name of the true religion because it means invitation to the truth. Yeah? The word Ismailism is popular, but the word Ismailism came into use after Maulana Ismail, the son of Maulana Jafar Sadiq. Right? So what were we known by before that? Right? These names like the Shia of Ali, Ismaili or Ismaili Tariqa, these are historical names. But if you go into all our books of diaries, they only use Dawat-e-Haq.
Or Islam.
Yeah, or Islam.
Like Da'aimul Islam.
Qazi Noman.
The Qazi Noman doesn't say Da'aimul Ismailiyah. And in the eyes of Islam, in the eyes of Allah, the real religion is Islam. Chapter 3, verse 19. Take लीजिए कुर्बान.
टैबलेट नहीं है आपके पास कुरान? ओके, कोई एक्स्ट्रा कॉपीज है कुरान की?
जी,
ये टैबलेट्स नहीं है कुर्बान आपके पास? लौह महफूज. अच्छा,
390. yes.
319.
अल्लाह के नजदीक दीन सिर्फ इस्लाम है.
That's it. That's all we need, right?
Inna deena indallahil Islam. ये है. And what is the meaning of Islam? Islam, submission to will of Allah through His Khalifa, through His intermediary.
The others stop at just submission to the will of Allah. How? By whom? Through whom? How do you submit your will to Allah? How? So it should really be submission to the will of Allah through His appointed intermediary.
ये करेक्ट कर दीजिए. किसी और से पूछो कहेंगे इस्लाम में सबमिशन टू अल्लाह. अल्लाह ऐसा आसान नहीं है कि जाकर आप अल्लाह को सबमिट करें.
Okay, so एक minute. So Dawat-e-Haq, which is our original name, its importance or significance is from the very fact that in verse 8:24, God ascribes da'wah to Himself. He is the first da'i, God Himself.
अच्छा, तो भाई साहब आपके पास कोई कंकोर्डेंस भी है कुरान की? कोई कुरान का कंकोर्डेंस है वो आयतें निकालने का?
अभी मूव हुए हैं ना.
ओके,
इट्स ओके. तो ये 8:24 have you found it here? You want to read it out?
O you who have believed, respond to Allah and to the Messenger when He calls you with that which gives you life.
I think that's enough, right? O you who believe. Yes? In Arabic, would somebody like to read the Arabic?
या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू
इस्तजीबू लिल्लाहि व लिरसूलिहि इज़ा दआकुम लीमा युहीकुम. Right? Yeah, this is in Arabic. So Allah is saying, I'm sending an invitation my prophet is also inviting you to something which will give you life. But these are, oh, you who believe, they are already alive. Right? So you have to ask, what is this life? So the answer obviously is that every human being has a type of life, but there are levels of life. And one higher level of life is when God invites you through His Prophet and His Ulil Amr to this Dawat-e-Haq. Yeah? So first and foremost, Dawat-e-Haq is God Himself, and then His Prophet. And then in this paragraph we said that He chooses His special servants to continue this work.
Okay.
And for that the Quranic verse is Surah 3, Ayah 33, 34.
It is called Qanun Istifa. Qanun, the law of selection or choice. Qanun Istifa.
And these sort of ayahs should be, they are not difficult, because look, we've learned how to dua in Arabic, haven't we? These ayahs are not difficult to learn. If you can just learn few sentences, right, it will really tremendously help your discussion. This is what I wanted to say earlier when Faquir Sahib launched into his impromptu lecture, that our Jamaat and all the people in the world now will need to know more about themselves, because the world is going towards pluralism. Haji Imam has been using this word pluralism for a long time now. And we know that when Imam uses a word, that word becomes reality. And one important point which I think many people are not finding easy to understand is that pluralism means I've got to know about myself and I've got to know about the person opposite me, who he is, what are his beliefs, etc. Only then can we have a sensible dialogue. Right? That's the world Imam is pushing people towards now, A world where there will be mutual respect, because I know what you believe and I'm ready to accept that, and you need to accept my belief. This is pluralism. And it's not easy. As Imam has said in many speeches, that pluralism is not easy.
Not assimilation.
It's not assimilation, And when the Imam talks about building bridges with other communities, he talks about building bridges, not crossing them. The Imam's words are very, very loaded. And we've got to read it. It is our duty to analyze them, to reflect on them, to discuss them. So for Ismailis, we are a minority, therefore we need to be very strong in knowledge in our future generations.
Qanun Istifa mein dekha.
You got the 333? Ali Imran. This is a chapter of Ali Imran. Yeah.
Indeed, Allah chose Adam and Noah and the family of Abraham and the family of Imran over the world. Descendants, some of them from others, and Allah is hearing and knowing.
Yeah. They are descendants one of another. I don't know why. Whose translation is that?
That was probably the...
Yeah. Not very good. Look at Pitzol or even Yusuf Ali. They are descendants of one another, meaning that this choice of God is in one family, starting from Adam. Yeah. So in this article, the introduction, Allah ascribes da'wah to Himself, and then to the Prophet, and to the chosen servants, who are all these prophets.
Are the chosen servants.
Right.
Then they are appointing hudud.
Right. Okay, and so the belief is in Dawat-e-Haq that there will always be such a chosen representative of Allah amongst people, and he will be known by various names like the Imam of the time, the true Imam, Hadi Barhaq, the true guide. These are all the titles or names of the Imam. So we had reached up to that point.
And through him, the recognition of God will be possible.
Through him, the recognition of God will be. And why is the recognition of God important? That is the purpose of human life. Yeah.
And one thing, Maulana Murtazali in Nahjul Balagha, he says, Awwaluddin ma'rifatuhu. The origin or the foundation of religion is his recognition. Awwaluddin. Ma'rifatuhu. Who means his. And therefore, Marifa is the most important thing. Okay. आगे बढ़िए कुर्बान दूसरा पैरा.
अब जहाँ तक दावत हक की
तबलीग यानी the third part, balligh. Ya ayyuhar rasul balligh. That balligh comes from tabligh. The meaning of tabligh means to convey.
अब जहाँ तक दावत हक की तबलीग यानी उसको लोगों तक पहुँचाने का ताल्लुक है, दुनिया के हालात और लोगों के कबूल और इनकार के लिहाज से असासी तौर पर उसकी दो सूरतें रही हैं. एक दौरे कश या कियामत और दूसरी दौरे सतर या शरीयत. दौरे कश को रोज़े दीन और दौरे सतर को शबे दीन भी कहते हैं. जाहिर है कि दीन के रोज़ो शब की तरतीब आलम खल्क के रोज़ो शब के मुताबिक दी गई है. आलम खल्क में जब दिन का वक्त होता है तो उस वक्त आफताब आलमताब बराह रास्त तमाम चीजों पर रोशनी डालता है और इस आलमी सरचश्मे नूर के होते हुए किसी और जरिए से रोशनी हासिल करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. इसके बरअक्स रात का वक्त होता है तो उस वक्त सूरज की अदम मौजूदगी में उसकी नुमाइंदगी के तौर पर चांद और सितारे रोशनी पहुंचाते हैं, और जहां चांद और तारों की रोशनी भी नहीं पहुंचती तो खुद साफ्ता मशअलों से रोशनी हासिल करने की कोशिश की जाती है. इसी तरह आलम खल्क में रोशनी पहुंचाने का निजाम जारी है. यही निजाम आलम दीन में भी जारी है.
So now there's an explanation of the world of religion and the world of creation. Okay? So in creation we have day and night. Correct? In the daytime the sun shines, everything is visible, everything is fine. And in the night time people either use the light of the moon or the stars, or they have their own torches or whatever. And now, of course, in countries like this, we have electricity, we have plenty, right? Okay. That same analogy applies to the history of the world of religion.
Because of Assasa.
Yeah. Yes. Abhi lana hai usko, yeah, correct me. So in the history of the religion, you will find that it can be divided, generally speaking, into two phases. One phase is called Dore Satar, and one phase is called Dore Kash, or unveiling. Satar means hidden, and Kash means to open or to unveil. So Dore Satar is compared to the night. In the night, there is no sun shining. So you have the moon or the stars or the torches, right? But in the age of unveiling, it is compared to the day of creation. And that day, the sun is shining, i.e. the light of God has no obstructions, no obstacles, not too much enmity. It can be seen openly, right? These two will be described a bit later. Now, Faquir says that we should understand why he has used this analogy between the history of religion and the world of creation. because there is another hadith of the Prophet, and that is in Wajuddin, in which God says that He has based His religion on His creation. Right? And this is a very important link for you. In fact, I wish to write an article about this, right? Because what has Imam said in all his Diamond Jubilee and before that in his Farmans? He says, the purpose of education in Islam is to better understand Allah's creation. Correct? I wonder how many members of the Jamaat understood what you were saying. Right? Why is he saying that you use your education better to understand Allah's creation? Because religion is based on Allah's creation, which we read in the ayat of nature, of fitrah, didn't we? 30:30. Right? This is all linked. Right? When Imam is speaking now, you realize that if you know the Quran a little bit, then the Imam's words begin to have much more meaning for you, right? So, since religion is based on Allah's creation, therefore, in order to understand our religion, we have to use analogies from creation, from the creation. Okay? So, day and night, satar and kash. Okay.
चुनाचा रोज़े दीन से मुराद वो वक्त या ज़माना है जिसमें खलीफा खुदा या हादी बरहक को, जो दीन का सूरज है, अपनी हिदायत का नूर लोगों तक पहुँचाने में मुनकरीन दीन की तरफ से उनको कोई मुखालफत दरपेश नहीं आती और बराह रास्त उसकी हिदायत का नूर लोगों तक पहुँच जाता है और इस काम में किसी हुदूद दीन की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, जिस तरह सूरज के होते हुए चांद और सितारों की रोशनी की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती.
Exactly. So that was the conclusion of the point of before that, which is that in the day of religion, meaning at the time when the Imam, the light of God doesn't face any obstructions, right? And I think you all know Ismaili history enough to know, don't you? Yes? There's one sentence in Maulana Sultan Shah's Memoirs, chapter 8. Yeah? Just one sentence. Listen to this. Yeah, I think I know it more or less. Okay? Not exactly, but more or less. He says that in 1848, his grandfather, i.e. Maulana Aga Hassan Ali Shah, established Darkhana in Mumbai, 1848. And he said that this was a wonderful thing. He doesn't use the word wonderful. He said this was
decision.
This was a very important decision because it was as if, listen to these words, it was as if the load of persecution and fanatical hostility which they had to bear for so long was lifted from them. Just one sentence. Our entire history of persecution and hostility. Maulana Sultan Shah, just one sentence. Okay? So what does that mean? 1848 is about 170 years ago, about. So if you take 1450 years of Islamic history, that means for 1350 years, our Jamaat had suffered persecution and fanatical hostility. Why? Because we believed in the Imam, we believed in the rope of God, we believed in the Khalifa of God. Right? Yeah? So that time then, in Ismaili history is also called the time of Satar. But there's another meaning to Satar which will become more obvious to you. When the Imam couldn't openly do his invitation, he had to do it through his da'is and his hudud. But 1848 is the beginning of the period of Kash, Dore Kash, in the Ismaili history, okay?
इसके बरक्स शब दीन से ऐसा वक्त या जमाना मुराद है जिसमें खलीफाए खुदा मुनकरीन दीन की मुखालिफत और रुकावटों की वजह से अपनी हिदायत का नूर बराह रास्त लोगों तक नहीं पहुंचा सकते। वो खुद लोगों से मस्तूर हो जाते हैं और उनके नुमाइंदों की हैसियत में नूरानी हिदायत लोगों को पहुंचाने का काम हुदूद दीन करते हैं। जैसे रात के वक्त सूरज की अदम मौजूदगी में लोगों को रोशनी पहुंचाने का काम,
मौजूदगी उसके नीचे ज़ेर लगना चाहिए, अदम के नीचे,
अदम मौजूदगी में लोगों को रोशनी पहुंचाने का काम चांद और सितारे करते हैं।
So that is the night of religion, is when the Khalifa of God, the representative of God, he cannot do his work of dawah openly because there is too much enmity, hostility, persecution. And so the work is done by his hudud. Like in the night, when the sun isn't shining, then the moon and the stars have to suffice, or else a torch, right?
खुदाए बुजुर्ग बरतर ने इन दो सूरतों का जिक्र कुरान हकीम की एक ही आयत में यकजा किया है। चुनांचा फरमाता है, सूरा 9 आयत 32, तर्जुमा, वो हक को छुपाने वाले चाहते हैं कि खुदा की नूर को अपने मुंहों की फूकों से बुझाएं और खुदा को सिवाय उसके कुछ मंजूर नहीं है कि वो अपने नूर को तमाम कर दे, अगरचे हक छुपाने वाले उसे नापसंद करें।
Okay. Some very important points in this one. First of all, those of you who would like to look at it in English, Surah 9, Ayat 32. Do you remember we discussed it in the Karzara the last time we came together? 9:32. You got it in front of you? Read it out.
They want to extinguish the light of Allah with their mouths, but Allah refuses, except to perfect His light, although the disbelievers dislike it.
Yeah? Did you all hear that? Yuriduna yutfi'u nurallahi bi afwahihim. This is an onomatopic word. Can you see? You can see that you are doing that, right? They are trying to blow out the light of Allah. Right? So, Faquir has written in here that this one ayat of the Quran is describing both the night and the day of religion. What is the night? That the enemies, the ones who want to hide the truth. So that's another very big point here. That Faquir Sahib has not used the word disbelievers or unbelievers for the word kafir, because that is not the correct translation. The correct translation of the word kafir is the one who hides the truth deliberately. So, the kafirs are trying to blow out the light of Allah. That is the night of religion, the night of hostility, fanaticism, persecution. And then the second half of the ayah says, but Allah will not allow them. And He will perfect His life. So that is the day of religion, when nobody will be able to touch the light of Imamah. Right? I hope that you know enough history of our Ismaili Tariqa. We have today 49 Imams from Maulana Ali, in this cycle of Nabi Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Out of 49, 20 Imams were martyred. Did you know that? 20, almost half. Because that was the night of religion. The Imams were martyred. And this 1350 years of torture, this, Jamaat should not forget, because we are not saying, our Imam is not saying that we should be revengeful, unforgiving, no. We should be aware, and then knowing that we should be ready to forgive people. That is a greater forgiveness than to be forgiving out of ignorance, right? Yeah?
The last Imam was Maulana Khalilullah
the father of Maulana Aga Hasan Ali Shah.
in Yazd, in Iran.
Does anybody know how he was martyred? It's very painful, but I think maybe it's time that Jamaat did know such things.
Open market with the sword.
No, not with a sword. Not with a sword, unfortunately. Yeah. When Maulana Khalilullah Ali came out of his house, the mullahs had excited the mob so much they all pounced on the Imam and I can't say anymore, okay? That's how Maulana Khalilullah Ali was martyred. So it's good to know. We know about Maulana Hussain. We know how much our sister community of the Ishnashis, what they do, yeah, every year to commemorate his martyrdom, right? And because these are very painful events, very, very painful events. But the point is we should know these things and still forgive, because that's what our Imam wishes, right? We should not harbor revenge or bitterness, because that's only going to do harm to ourselves, right? Okay. Yeah, I think we've explained that enough.
Right. Yes. The important बात ये है कि एक ही आयत में दोनों कंडीशनों का खुदा ने जिक्र
And a very important ayat. This is the ayat which tells you that no matter how much the kafirs try to blow out the light of Allah, they are not going to be able to. Which means the imamat has to be there. The light of God has to be there.
वो आ रहा है.
आयत में रब्बुल इज्जत ने न सिर्फ दौरे सतर और दौरे कश की खुसूसियात का जिक्र किया है, बल्कि साथ साथ इस हकीकत पर भी जोर दिया है कि खुदा का नूर किसी भी सूरत में और किसी भी मुखालिफत से बुझने वाला नहीं.
हाँ, ये इम्पोर्टेंट बात अंडरलाइन करने को कि खुदा का नूर किसी भी मुखालिफत से, अपोजिशन से, या उसके नीचे दूसरा वर्ड क्या,
मुखालिफत से बुझने वाला नहीं.
हाँ, तो इसलिए वो हमेशा रहने वाला है. क्योंकि इस्लाम में कुछ बिरादरी ने ये कहा कि इमाम डर के मारे छुप गया है. इमाम डर के मारे छुप गया है. जब वो पावरफुल होगा तो निकलेगा मुकाबला करने के. ऐसा नहीं है.
12 years here, when they started believing the occultation of the Imam, that was the story, right? That the Imam was too young and too weak to be able to face the Abbasids, who were very powerful, right? So he had therefore gone into hiding in a cave. This was their belief, that their Imam had gone into hiding to protect himself from a powerful enemy. But then later when the community asked, it's 40 years now since it's been, so he must be a strong man by now, why doesn't he come out and fight? Right? They said, no, it will still take time. And then at the age of 70, they asked. And then the person who was in charge of the community, he said, I don't know now what the condition of the Imam is. So he never came out of the cave, right? So this is why they still have this idea that the Imam is in Gaiba. He is hidden, which is not that of the Nizari Ismailis, right? We do not believe that. We believe the Imam has to be manifest.
खुदा गारंटी देता है, जमानत देता है.
Yes, that he won't let. It is God Himself in this ayat 932 who is guaranteeing that the kafirs will not be able to blow out his light. It has to be here, obviously, right? And this ayat is twice in the Quran. Twice, not once. Okay.
इसकी हिफाजत और दायमियत की जमानत खुद ज़ाते अक़दस ने दी है, इसलिए कि कायनात की बका व दुआम का इन्हसार और लोगों की निजात का दारोमदार इसी नूर या इमाम ज़मान की मारिफत पर है. जैसा कि
So why does God guarantee in this ayah that His nur cannot be blown out? It's because the entire existence rests, is founded on the existence of the Imam. You know, there is a hadith of the Prophet which says, if you read the Living Branch of Islam article, you know this hadith that I think it comes into this article later. It's coming, so you will hear it. That if for one moment, if the Imam were to disappear from this planet, it would shake with all its people. That is a hadith of the Prophet. The Imam cannot ever not be here. Okay?
जैसा कि ये हकीकत पैगंबर सल्लम की इस हदीस से वाज़ेह है, यानी अगर जमीन एक पल के लिए इमाम से खाली हो जाए तो वो अपने लोगों के साथ डगमगाने लगेगी। अलगर्ज दावत हक इसी नूर की तरफ बुलाने का नाम है।
अलगर्ज दावत हक इसी नूर की तरफ बुलाने का नाम है, नथिंग एल्स। बाकी जितने हैं वो
secondary matter.
Secondary चीजें.
This nur is the primary matter. That's a fundamental, like we say. That's the founding principle of our tariqah, the nur, the existence and the continuity of the nur. Yeah.
अलगर्ज दावत हक इसी नूर की तरफ बुलाने का नाम है और ये काम दुनिया में हमेशा जारी व सारी है। दौर ख्वाह सतर हो या कश्फ, हुदूद के जरिए हो या बराह रास्त।
So this work of inviting to the recognition of the light of the Imam and through that the marifat of God continues, whether it is night or day, whether it is satar or kash, whether there are hudud or no hudud. You understand? In all circumstances, the light continues. Right? Actually, you know, the most famous one is that on the battlefield of Karbala, the entire family of Maulana Hussain was martyred. But Imam Zainul Abidin was in the tent with his aunt, Hazrat Zainab. And Yazid's army didn't do anything to him. They couldn't do anything to him. Isn't that amazing?
क्योंकि खुदा की गारंटी थी, कुछ नहीं कर सकता।
And the story goes that Hazrat Zainab, after that she went to Damascus, she went to the court of Yazid and she quoted from the Quran and she shut everybody up, you know. That's why the Ishnashis always have a mausoleum for her. We've been to the one in Syria outside Damascus. I don't know if it's still there now with all the bombing, but that was a very sacred place, the tomb of Hazrat Zainab. So she's the one who protected Zainab. I think we women should be very happy that we are the ones who did that, right? Women did that to keep the light of Allah shining.
इसके बरअक्स शब-ए दीन से ऐसा वक्त या जमाना मुराद है जिसमें खलीफा खुदा मुनकरीन दीन की मुखालिफत और रुकावटों की वजह से अपनी हिदायत का नूर बराह रास्त लोगों तक नहीं पहुंचा सकते, वो खुद लोगों से मस्तूर हो जाते हैं। अब जहां तक इन अदवार की मुद्दत का ताल्लुक है, दुनिया की तरह दीन भी हफ्ते का तस्वुर है।
अच्छा, अभी ये किस तरह कंटिन्यू हो रहा, खुदा ने किस कानून के मुताबिक इस लाइफ को कंटिन्यू रखा, वो बात आ रही है। फिर से वो पैराग्राफ वहां शुरू से अदवार के बाद लास्ट।
अब जहां तक इन अदवार की मुद्दत का ताल्लुक है,
यानी दौर सदा दौर काश इनकी कंटिन्यूटी किस तरह होती है। हाँ जी,
दुनिया की तरह दीन भी हफ्ते का तस्वुर है।
हाँ।
जिसको हफ्ताए दीन या उसबुद्दीन कहा जाता है।
पर्शियन में इसको हफ्ताए दीन कहते हैं और अरबी में उसबुद्दीन कहते हैं। तो अभी वो रिसर्च करते करते तो वो उसमें ग्रीक में हेप्टाट कहते हैं, और हम उसको बहुत अजीब गरीब वर्ड समझते थे, लेकिन अभी पता पड़ा कि पर्शियन का हफ्ता और ग्रीक का हफ्ताद दोनों एक ही चीज है.
Indo-Aryan languages, right? Persian is an Indo-Aryan language, therefore obviously Greek is related, yeah?
हाँ, बहुत से वर्ड ऐसे हैं दोनों में कॉमन है. जिस तरह आप देखते हैं मादर पर्शियन है, मदर इंग्लिश में है, फादर इंग्लिश है, पिदर फारसी है. इसी तरह ये हफ्ता और ग्रीक का हफ्ताद भी सेम प्रोनाउंसिएशन है.
This is another example from creation and from religion. In creation, isn't it amazing that, wherever you go in the world, everybody believes in a 7-day week. Sunday to Saturday. So, as there is a week in our calendar, there is also the same concept in the history of religion.
अलबत्ता दीन का हफ्ता अशखास से हिदायत की सूरत में होता है.
अशखास हिदायत,
अशखास से हिदायत.
जाहिरी हफ्ता जो है ना 24 घंटों का दिन होता है, लेकिन जो दीन का दिन है वो शख्सियात है. जिस तरह आदम, नूह, इब्राहिम वगैरह वगैरह शख्सियात हिदायत. ओके.
अलबत्ता दीन का हफ्ता अशखास से हिदायत की सूरत में होता है, और इन अशखास से मुराद 6 साहिबानी किताब और शरीयत है, जिनके अदवार को मिलाकर दौरे सतर कहा जाता है, और इनके बाद हजरत कायम का दौर आता है. ये दीन का सब्त या शनबा यानी 7वां दिन है.
सब
या
सब जो है आराम करने को कहते हैं. यानी जो जाहिरी लोग हैं वो कहते हैं 6 दिन के बाद खुदा थक गया, अभी 7वां दिन वो रेस्ट कर रहा है. इसलिए आप देखते हैं जुडाइज्म में खाना पीने की तैयारी फ्राइडे को मुकम्मल होती है, हफ्ते को कुछ करना नहीं है. तो हफ्ते के लिए जो खाने की चीजें हैं वो फ्राइडे को तैयार करते हैं, क्योंकि खुदा रेस्ट कर रहा है, इसलिए उनको भी रेस्ट कर.
Orthodox Jews, I don't think progressive, Orthodox Jews do that, yeah. And Christians, they consider Sunday the day of rest.
अच्छा, इस्लाम के अंदर ये 2 क्यों छुट्टियां मिलती हैं? ये इस्लाम की छुट्टियां नहीं है. तो मगरिब ने कॉलोनाइज किया पूरी दुनिया को, इस्लाम को भी. तो उसके संडे जो है वो क्रिश्चियन का है, सैटरडे जो है जूस का है, और ये मुसलमानों के सर पर भी सौंपा गया.
In 1979, Maulana Hazim Imam paid a 1-week complete Sunday to Saturday visit to London. And on the day of Sunday, which was his last day actually, on the Sunday he stood up and he said, Jamaat, my beloved spiritual children, the country in which you are living or the society amongst which you live considers today a day of rest. If my Jamaat considers it a day of rest, I shall be most unhappy. And you know what happened after that? Everything changed in Britain. We used to have strict, many of our public grounds and parks are endowments. And in the will, those Christians had said, nobody could play games on a Sunday in that park, nobody could do this, that and the other, okay? From that moment of Hazrat Imam saying that, all of those things went out of the window. Everything is open on Saturday and Sunday now, and the churches became empty and the parks became full. Tennis courts became full. All these things became full, right? And shops began to stay open until midnight, and after that slowly some of them 24 hours. Because they were also getting things from here, right? Copying from American stuff as well. This is what the Imam said. I should be most unhappy if my Jamaat thinks this is a day of rest. There's no day of rest in Islam.
What year was that?
1979. I was there. I heard that with my own ears.
In 1987 in Texas, until 87 they could not sell clothes or any kind of home goods. until 1987, and then they start selling it in 87.
So that's a decade, you see, from 80 onwards. Britain was transformed.
इस्लाम में सिर्फ फ्राइडे प्रेयर के लिए छुट्टी मिलती है. Once the prayer is over, then they have to disperse to seek Allah's blessings. इस्लाम में ये कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है छुट्टी का, लेकिन आइडिया है अभी.
So you understood the Hafta Din is the week of religion, yeah? And it's made up of personalities, holy personalities like Adam, Noah, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, and Hazrat Nabi Muhammad. Those are the 6 days, and the 7th day is the day of Hazrat Qaim. Whereas in the worldly sense, a week is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right?
अब जहाँ तक हमारे अपने जमाने का ताल्लुक है, तारीखी दीन और
थोड़ी और जोर से पढ़ना कुर्बान, काफी एनर्जी खर्च करनी पड़ेगी आज आपको.
अब जहाँ तक हमारे अपने जमाने का ताल्लुक है, तारीख दीन और अशरात क़ियामत की रोशनी में देखने से वाज़े हो जाता है कि दौर सतर जो हजरत आदम से लेकर हजरत खातम के अदवार पर मुश्तमिल है, हजरत खातिमुन नबीयीन के दौर के अकमाल के साथ इकमाल के साथ नूर खुदाबंदी का इत्माम हुआ और हामिले नूर इलाही इमाम ज़मान अलैहिस्सलाम ने सतर से निकलकर अपना मुबारक ज़ुहूर फरमाया. अशरात क़ियामत में से एक नुमायान शर्त कुरान करीम में ये है, सूरह 75.
वहाँ का रूप चाहिए. अशरात क़ियामत किस किस को ये याद है? अशरात क़ियामत क्या होती है? What does अशरात क़ियामत mean? अच्छा, देखिए इस्लाम में when we are mentioning something, we have to provide proof. जब मौला फरमाते our faith is logical faith, intellectual faith, that means that we have to provide proofs in order to establish that thing. तो हमने अभी कहा कि 6 दिन हफ्ते के पूरे हो गए, अभी हजरत कायम का दिन है, वक्त है. तो उसके लिए 2 प्रूफ चाहिए, हिस्ट्री से भी प्रूफ चाहिए और क़यामत के लिए क्या कंडीशन है. अशरात इज प्लूरल ऑफ शर्त. शर्त के मानी है कंडीशन. अशरात की क़यामत इस कुरान में हदीस में आयतें हैं और प्रोफेटिक ट्रेडिशंस हैं कि जब क़यामत का वक्त आएगा तो ये इवेंट्स दुनिया में पैदा होंगे. इनको अशराती क़यामत कहते हैं. तो अब इसको हमने हजरत कायम की बात की तो उसको एस्टेब्लिश करने के लिए अशरात क़यामत का भी जिक्र होना चाहिए, उसका प्रूफ होना चाहिए. फिर हिस्टोरिकली किस तरह जो है यहाँ तक आकर पैगम्बरों का दौर खत्म हुआ. क्या हुआ कि हर पैगम्बर का 1000 साल होता, लेकिन हजरत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम बहुत जल्दी दुनिया से गए, उनका वक्त भी बाकी था. और उस वक्त वो हजरत मोहम्मद मुस्तफ़ा से लेकर होते होते हमारा पैगम्बर का दौर मौलाना सुल्तान मशाह के ज़माने तक 1300 साल होते थे. तो पैगम्बर ने अपना 1000 साल के साथ हजरत ईसा का जो टाइम बाकी रहा था वो भी मुकम्मल किया. अभी तो क़यामत होनी चाहिए, बाकी आ रही है.
अशरात क़ियामत में से एक नुमायान शर्त कुरान करीम में ये है, सूरह 75 आयत 8 to 9. तर्जुमा, और चांद को गहन लग जाएगा और सूरज और चांद को जमा कर दिया जाएगा.
अभी ये पहले हमें समझने की कोशिश की.
75 8 and 9.
And the moon darkens and the sun and the moon are joined.
Okay. Now look at that. The word is jubilu, joined. Okay. So if you now are an exoteric person who doesn't believe in anything else, right, just the literal meaning, you have to ask yourself, you can ask the youngest member of the group here, can that sun and the moon up there, can they ever join? Why not? Why is that impossible?
Ya Allah.
What is the characteristic of the sun? Yes, yes. Exactly. If anything comes anywhere near the sun, it's a furnace, right? Of such deadly heat. There's no question of joining. Whatever goes near the sun will be destroyed, finished, matter over, yeah? The Quran uses the word join. So obviously there is a batin meaning here. Okay, now we have to, everybody's here, yelling. So we have to see what does this joining mean and where does it happen. Because that's one of the shirts, one of the conditions of the beginning of Qiyamah. Exactly. Kamariya Sahib has already said. What happened, Kamariya Sahib? Yes, in the time of Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah, Imamat and Piratan joined. The Imam is called the sun of religion, and the Pir does not have his own light. The Pir has the reflected light of the Imam. They join. And that's the time when the Maulana Sultan Shah started sending paternal and maternal blessings to the Jamaat. Before that, he used to only use the word paternal because there was a Pir.